How's it going? All right. So I want to first do a quick reminder that Dave has his first Skimmer Outdoors. It's kind of like a half episode. So that's out there for you to check out. It's only 5 minutes. He gives the rundown of our new Plucky the Polaris 570 Sportsman ATV. So it's great. He knows already so much about it. And we went for a nice ride yesterday and it was rad. He is out currently on his beta, and I will be hopefully getting that video and editing it as best I can and out to you soon. But I just wanted to do that quick little plug for him. And honestly, I'm kind of on a big alien abduction kick right now. I seem to be coming across a ton of them. And the ironic thing is that before I started doing the YouTube channel, I started to write my second follow up to my UFO book, Bringing Back History to See the Path Forward. So that's out there on Amazon. It's like $10 if you want to check it out. Total shameless plug. All right. But I was doing a follow up and I had even interviewed people and that kind of stuff. But I started to just sort of go, man, I just want to like talk about this stuff. I don't want to write about it and have to wait for publishing and then all that stuff, because these stories that are out there are freaking fascinating. I mean, this one I came across is from Australia and it's from the 90s, 1993. I'm not sure if you've heard of Kelly Cahill, but she has a story to tell that's they call it either a brilliant hoax or an unbelievably incredible story of a real life alien abduction experience. And this one's different, and you'll find out why. But I want to take this from the point of view of believing it, just believing the story. I know usually I kind of try to go back and forth. Like I'll do, you can believe it and then you have your doubt, whatever. Maybe at the end of this, I'll give my 2 cents. But for right now, I just want to read this as a straightforward story to you because it's pretty interesting. On August 7th, okay, in 1993, in Gippsland, a Gippsland Australian woman named Kelly Cahill saw a UFO beings in a craft from another planet or another world, she called it. Okay. Now, as detailed in her 1996 book, yes, there is a book called Encounter, which I'm probably popped it up on the screen. Ms. Cahill's case had all the hallmarks of literally every great classic alien abduction that's out there. Okay. It was classic. It had lost time, which is really the biggest thing that I come across every time I'm looking at these stories. Strange spaceships, bright lights that she saw in the sky, inhumane creatures, and inexplicable marks on her body after the fact. Okay. So, one of the biggest differences, okay, between her claims and that of countless, and I mean countless others, as we all know, okay, is the fact that she has independent witnesses. Hell yeah. You do not hear that. Do you ever hear about people like, oh, and I have I have two cars of witnesses to back up the claims. Oh my God. She even had her then at the time husband, but is now her ex-husband named Andrew. He was in the car with her when they were driving. So I'm going to tell you the story. Now, they were riding along on the fateful night, they call it, on Melbourne's southeastern fringes. Okay. And 4 other people in 2 other cars, in 2 separate cars, would actually verify. I'll get to more on that, but they do verify the story, okay? And due to the fact that this incident appeared to have multiple witnesses, it was dubbed the Holy Grail. It literally is called the Holy Grail of alien abductions. So even researchers, scientists, enthusiasts, they were like, wow, if this is all proven to be true, this is amazing. I mean, this changes everything. Okay. And the author of the article that I pulled a lot of this information from, his name is Matt Neal, and the article's title is "Holy Grail or Epic Hoax." Australian Kelly Cahill's UFO abduction story still has passion today, still stirs passion, and he says that it was one of the stories that had the potential to provide definite proof once and for all that the truth was out there. The X Files even referenced it in one of their episodes. What? So Ms. Cahill claims that she and then husband Andrew were driving to a friend's house when they saw a row of like 5 or 6 bright orange lights out in a paddock. And that's like, a field out in like it's a wide open space, so you can see everything really clearly. And it was in a distinct circular shape. Okay. And at the time, they honestly just continued to their friend's house, didn't really think much about it, recapped like to their friends what had happened. And they sort of made a joke out of it. Probably even she said, maybe even made a UFO joke about it. But around midnight, when they were going back home, same route, the lights were there again. This time, they pulled over. Andrew pulled over. And this time the lights were actually up and they were hanging above the road. So in her book, Cahill recounts, I could then see that the orange lights were really windows. I could make out figures standing behind the portals of the windows, not portals, not the cool guy, just window portals. And remember, this is Australian, so their lingo is a little different. She then says that the object flew off at an incredible speed. Now, initially, she says her memory goes blank after that. Okay. And then she says it was like a cut from a scene in a movie or a film. And their car had traveled several hundred meters down the road without them knowing. Again, there's the missing time. And that happened. If you go back as far as Benny and Barney Hill, you can get a lot of they all of a sudden, their car all of a sudden like showed up, totally ran like so far away from where they thought they would be after their abduction claims. Now, in the days and weeks that followed, Cahill claimed to discover strange marks on her body. Okay. Now, including a small triangular wound below her belly button. Now, I've heard of this many times before. Interestingly enough, do you recall when I brought up 4chan, that YouTube channel that has really kind of nutty ideas, but it's also supposedly anonymous sources who have worked with aliens or been around aliens or they know a lot about them. And they say that basically this brand, well, I call it a branding basically. So when mostly women, almost all women, have this triangular brand put on their bodies near their navel, near their belly buttons, it's almost like what it reminds me of, like what a farmer or a rancher does with the cows. They brand, and so for like a head count. And if you recall, I told you about the anonymous source that said that aliens basically think of us kind of like animals in a zoo. Like they don't hold us in the highest regard because we don't really deserve it, because we're sort of like primitive to them. I mean, especially with the way we treat one another. So I just thought I found that correlation to be a little unsettling because, again, it's like, wow, really, maybe we are just like cattle to them. I don't know. But anyway, Cahill also began experiencing stomach pains and night visitations from tall, black, hooded figures with glowing red eyes. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that. Now, through hypnosis, which is, as we know, that can be a little sketchy if it's done from someone who doesn't know what they're doing, but hopefully this person did. She said she was able to unlock her missing time. Okay. She claims her husband had pulled over, They'd gotten out of their car to get a better look at the lights. And then further up the road, they saw another car had parked, and its occupants were standing right on the edge of the field where they could see the lights. Then a tall figure appeared in front of the object that was out in the paddock, and Ms. Cahill heard in her mind, so telepathically heard its thoughts saying, "Let's kill them." Awesome. So more beings appeared, and then they unleashed like an energy blast that knocked Cahill to the ground, and she screamed at the top of her lungs to her husband, "They've got no souls. They're evil. They're gonna kill us." I mean, she was screaming. She was hysterical. And that's where her recollections end. Story doesn't end, but her recollections end. Okay. Now, Cahill contacted a Sydney-based researcher named Bill Chalker of the UFO Investigation Center, who thought immediately that this case was fairly important and had some potential to be a real game changer. Okay. But he also knew it was going to take a lot of hours of research and feel like going to the site and getting boots on the ground type thing. Now, he reached out to a Melbourne group. It's a paranormal investigators, and they're called the Phenomena Research Australia Group. And they were led by director John Acheta or Achettle. Achel. We'll go with Achel. Achettle. Damn it, I'm so bad at these. I don't know why I have to. I wish I could just do stories with Jones, Smith, Miller, stuff like that. But anyway, so we're going to call him John. He was the director of the Melbourne group. And he interviewed Ms. Cahill many times. And he did examine the scene, alleging where the sighting of the alleged scene was. And he and the PRA, that's short for his group, placed an ad in the local newspaper to try and draw out those other witnesses. And remarkably, it worked. Now, when those stories were recounted, he said the stories from the second car were identical to Cahill's, but went even further with details that she did not have. This group of witnesses claim that the details of their claims as they experienced going inside the mystery craft, as they called it, where they were strapped to a table and examined by the beings. Now, according to the PRA, the women had the same triangular wounds near their navels and other strange marks on their bodies, similar to Kelly Cahill's. Cattle. Okay. There were even talks of a third car driven by a local lawyer, whose story also matched up. Now, the researchers began preparing what they claimed to be a 300-page, in-depth, all disclosure, truth will be told report. Okay? Now, eventually the media caught wind of this. Of course they did. And Cahill did not shy away from any of it at first. Nothing. Okay. She began to appear on television shows. She was being interviewed for newspapers, for magazines, anywhere and anywhere, anyhow she could get her name out there or the story out there, she did. And of course, too, didn't hurt her book sales because they sold out pretty damn quickly. And thing is, by 1998, she had disappeared from the scene. And none of the other witnesses, I remember I said, yes, she has independent witnesses. However, they never officially came forward to give their statements. They gave statements to the paranormal investigators, but would not allow them to put it into their 300-page report. And then I guess what started happening was even Kelly Cahill started to kind of go, I don't really know how much of this I want to put in to your report. Her ex-husband would not sign off on his account of the story. So really there was nothing solid, but there were still witnesses out there. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that they're afraid to put it into like public record. Now, you fast forward to this article when it came out in 2020, and there's still no report. No report. And this goes back a long way to the early mid 90s. Now, the guy from the group, John, we're just calling him John, from PRA, claims that he said the original 300-page report had been dwindled down to an unusable 100-page, roughly, report. He didn't even want to call it a report at that time. He also says that back in 1994, when Cahill began going to the media and any other UFO group, it really muddied the case. That sucks. Now, Bill Chalker still believes Ms. Cahill, and he does call this an extraordinary lost opportunity. He does regret very much involving that Melbourne group because he feels like they kind of said they were going to do stuff, said they were going to do this report. We're trying to investigate, get all the ducks in a row, and just still nothing's happened. So it's kind of frustrating, but my God, what a story if it's true. I couldn't believe it. It was very similar to a little bit similar to like Linda Napolitano, who I have not told you about, but I'm sure you've heard of. It's a really it's a well done story. Everyone's talked about it, but a lot of skepticism around that too. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. It's crazy, right? And again, remind you to keep an eye out for Skimmer Outdoors. Oh my God, the first full video. He's out in mountain trails right now in the Persimmon. Oh my God, I should have asked him. But anyway, he's out there, ripping it up, having a blast. And I will try my hardest to get that edited and put out real quick, probably even before this. And, but until next time, stay happy and healthy, stay weird and safe, and take good care. All right. Bye.